Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. I'm David Breeden, Senior Minister. Welcome. I want to thank everyone who's made today possible, the staff and the planners, Martha and Michael. Thank you so much for doing that. An old joke says that Unitarian ministers are invisible 6 days a week and incomprehensible on the seventh. I hope I've done slightly better than that in my time here. A deep conviction of mine is that any clear idea can be said clearly, and no foggy idea can be said without some fog. I like the old phrase, never buy a pig in a poke. Now, I don't know what your dialect calls a poke, sack, bag, whatever, but where I'm from, it's a poke sack. Never buy a pig in a poke, because you can't see that pig in there. For me, buying a god or gods or a religious tradition is just like that. The Jewish philosopher Spinoza said, Deus sive natura, to describe his faith, God or nature. Call it what you wish. God or nature. Either or, both are pigs in a poke, however. If you buy the Deus, the God side of things, you're buying a pig in a poke. You're buying a story that someone else, some other tradition is trying to sell you. That's fine, as long as you realize two things about that. One, you're never going to see the pig in that sack. And two, you're committing yourself to listening more than you can talk. If you buy the natura, the nature pig, in a poke, you commit to never knowing all the answers. Each time you try it, you just don't know. It's mysterious. Now, each of you hold that flame that from the beginning has been about burning it all down, frankly. Burning down the traditions, burning down the gods, and looking as new humans in a new light, in a new way of being, as if we are the first people alive, even though we do respect those old traditions. That doesn't mean that systems of oppression are not real and damaging. What it does mean is that human beings can fix all of our mistakes. It's all human mistakes, all the way down. A medieval story tells of the wisest man who ever lived, the old man of the mountain, Hassan-i-Sabah, who was a Shiite Muslim. The story goes that on his deathbed, his disciples came to him and said, "What is the great secret of life, Master?" He is reported to have said, "Nothing is true. Everything is permitted." Now, that's a real nihilistic way to say the truth that we know. Every senior minister who stood in this podium has said the same as Hassan-i-Sabah. You decide. But all of us have also added this caveat. Each of us, merely by the dint of being human, must act for the good of all humanity. That's a basic requirement of being born. As many of you know, I often go back to the Hebrew story of Eve and Adam. I always say, you can't go wrong with the story of two naked people and a snake. But this central humanistic truth is that Adam feared and Eve snatched it. The fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is this: after you bite it, we are the creators of the gods, of the stories, and of what is good and evil on this planet. Our intuitions, our convictions, we are the creators. We are the storytellers. It is human stories all the way down. As with all sacred knowledge, this must be held both firmly and lightly. Firmly, in that it is foundational to the humanist way of knowing. Lightly, in that we must not become fundamentalists about it. Ours is not the one way of knowing. Ours is not the only way of knowing. Ours is merely our way of knowing. Despite the best efforts of Christianity to suppress our knowledge through the centuries, we have continued to stare down the serpent. We have continued in the pursuit of truths only human beings can discover. My own story is that I'm a toothless old hillbilly. I'm old and I'm missing teeth. And everybody my age where I come from is missing some of them. I'm a farmer from the Ozarks. My professional ambitions in life have been, number one, getting a job indoors in the air conditioning. Number two, being a poet, even though that will not buy groceries. 3 has been trying to figure out religion. And 4 has been what is beyond religion. Where is the human in religion? These ambitions led to how I've been able to earn my keep in the world, teaching and preaching. Both were byproducts of my poetry addiction, I have to admit, but have proved to be both lucrative enough and enjoyable enough through my life. And I hope I've done more good than harm in both of those disciplines I've pursued. We all get some time on this planet. Every one of you. Everyone is unique. Everyone deserves to be who they are. Perhaps you have a short time on the planet, perhaps a bit longer. But in living, an hour can feel like forever. You may be feeling that right now. But a lifetime, when you look back, any of us older folks can tell you it feels like a minute. It goes so fast. As a plot with what's left out of the good old biblical 70, that's 70. I'm looking at it. What I hope to write about is the wrestling, what it feels like to be human. And only I know what I feel like being human, and only you know your story and what you feel like being human. That's how I want to end my life, is writing some poetry about attempting to live a spiritual life, whatever that means. My experience comes from a very different time in a very different place. Nature regularly clears the decks, if you will, of us older folk and replaces us. That is the wisdom of nature, and I question it, but there's nothing we can do about it. For everything there's a season, wrote that Hebrew teacher in Ecclesiastes. For everything there's a season. It's the most humanist book in Hebrew scripture, I think. And a time for every purpose under heaven. My purpose here has been to weep, to laugh, to mourn, and to dance, as the Ecclesiastes says, with you for this little while. The human sharing of human life, I believe, is the best purpose under heaven. The human sharing of human life. And I thank you all for sharing it with me for this time. Thank you. Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.